7. Yevanahi bhuje keha shunite shunite seha. Ki adbhuta chaitanya charita Krishna upajibe priti. Janibera serariti shuneyeli bhadahaya hita. This is most certainly not sang like this. Does anyone know how it is properly sang? Not you. Who is they? Ki mondja ezt? Te mondod? Mondjad hangosan akkor? Uje keha shunite shunite seha Yeva Buddha
Krishna puj upajibe priti jani bera serariti shunile badahaya hita.
Krishna upajibe priti jani bera serariti shuneila bhadaya hita. Wonderful. Thank you very much. Dina Vatsala Prabhu ki jai. Yeba, however, nahi, does not, bujhe, understand, keha, someone, shunite, shunite, hearing and hearing, seha, he, ki, what, adbhuta, wonderful, Chaitanya Charita, pastimes of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Krishna, unto Krishna, upajibe, will develop, priti, love, ja, ways, shunile, no, janibe, he will understand, rasera, of transcendental mellows, riti, the ways, shunile, simply by hearing, bada, great, haya, there is, hita, benefit. Translation by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. If one does not understand in the beginning, but continues to hear again and again the wonderful effects of Lord Chaitanya's pastimes, will bring love for Krishna. Gradually, one will come to understand the loving affairs between Krishna and the gopis and other associates of Vrindavan. Everyone is advised to continue to hear over and over again in order to greatly benefit. Please repeat after me. If one does not understand, in the beginning, but continues to hear again and again, the wonderful effects of Lord Chaitanya's pastimes will bring love for Krishna. Gradually, one will come to understand the loving affairs between Krishna and the gopis, and other associates of Vrindavan. Everyone is advised to continue to hear over and over again in order to greatly benefit. There is no purport, so we will continue to the text 88. Bhagavata shloka maya tika tara samskrita haya tabu koiche bhuje tribhuvana ihan shloka duichari tara vyakya bhasha kari kene na bhujibe sarvajana. In reply to those critics who say that Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita is full of Sanskrit verses, it can be said that Srimad Bhagavatam is also full of Sanskrit verses, as are the commentaries on Srimad Bhagavatam. Nonetheless, Srimad Bhagavatam can be understood by everyone, as well as by advanced devotees who study the Sanskrit commentaries. Why then will people not understand the Chaitanya Charitamrita? There are only a few Sanskrit verses, and these have been explained in the Bengali vernacular. What is the difficulty in understanding? Text 89. Shesha Lilarash Sutragana Kailu Kichu Vivarana Ihan Vistarite Chita Haya Thake Yadi Ayu Shesha Vistariba Lila Shesha Yadi Mahaprabhura Kripa Haya. I have already given a synopsis of all the facts and figures of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's last pastimes, and I have a desire to describe them elaborately. If I remain longer and am fortunate enough to receive the mercy of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, I shall try to describe them again more elaborately. Text 90. Ami vridha jaratura likhite kampaye kara mane kichu samarananahaya nadikiye nayane nashuniye svarane tabu likhi ebada vismaya. I have now become too old and disturbed by invalidity. While I write, my hands tremble. I cannot remember anything, nor can I see or hear properly. Still, I write, and this is a great wonder. Verse 91. Eyanchalila sara sutra madhye vistara kari kichu karilu varnana iha madhye mariyabe varnitena parikabe elila bhakta ganadana. In this chapter, I have to some extent described the essence of the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya at the end. If I die in the meantime and cannot describe them in detail, at least the devotees will have this transcendental treasure. 92. Sangshepe sutra kaila yehi hana likhila agetaha kariba vistara yaditata dinajiye mahaprabhura kripahaye ichabari kariba vichara. In this chapter, I have briefly described the Antya Lila. However, I shall describe as extensively in whatever I have not described, I shall describe extensively in the future. If by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mercy I live for so many days that I can fulfill my desire, I will give full considerations to these pastimes. And 93, which has a purport. Chota bhada bhakta gana vanda sabara shri charana sabe more karaha santosha svarupa gosha niramata rupa ragunata janeyata talikhi nahi maradosha. I worship herewith the lotus feet of all kinds of devotees, both advanced and neophyte. I request all of them to be satisfied with me. I am faultless because I have written herein whatever I have understood from Svarup Damodar Goswami and Rupa and Raghunath Das Goswami. I have neither added nor subtracted from their version. Srila Prabhupada's purport. According to Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, there are three kinds of devotees, known as Bhajana Vigya, expert in devotional service, Bhajana Shila, devotees engaged in devotional service, and Krishna Name Dikshita Krishna Nama Kari, initiated devotees engaged in chanting. The author of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita begs the mercy of all these devotees and asks them to be pleased with him. He says, let the neophyte devotees, the devotees who are very expert in arguing, though they have no sense of advanced devotional service, who think themselves very advanced because they imitate some smarter Brahmana, let such devotees not be displeased with me, thinking that I have committed errors in this regard. I beg their pardon with great humility, but I am submitting that I personally gave no desire to add or subtract anything. I have only written what I have heard in the disciplic succession, because I am dedicated to the lotus feet of previous acharyas, like Svarup Damodar, Raghunath Das Goswami, and Rupa Goswami. I have only written what I have learned from them. Today's verse, Ye bana hi buje keha shunite shunite seha ki adbhuta chaitanya charita Krishna upajibe priti jani bera serariti shunilei badahayahita. If one does not understand in the beginning but continues to hear again and again, the wonderful effects of Lord Sri Chaitanya's pastimes will bring love for Krishna. Gradually, one will come to understand the loving affairs between Krishna and the gopis and other associates of Vrindavan. Everyone is advised to continue to hear over and over again in order to greatly benefit. Om Agyanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurum Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langayate Girim Yat Kripa Tamaham Vande Shri Gurum Dinatarinam Vancha Kalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. I have decided to divide these few verses into three sections. Everyone understands English? Someone does not understand English? Good. First would be talking about this current verse, the 87th verse, which we will see talks about a very important aspect of our everyday Krishna conscious life. The second talks about how that aspect should be performed. And the third, we will elaborate on the last point which Srila Prabhupada expands in the last verse. So there are a few words in this 87th. Can we put that back, please? In the 87th verse, continues again and again, gradually, over and over. What does this suggest? Consider it in relation to our everyday life. What do they indicate? What do they represent? Tom? There is a microphone.
Does it indicate that we're quite forgetful, so we have to hear a lot to then purify our consciousness?
Okay. So, which aspect of our devotional life this represents? Microphone? Oh, you're translating. Anyone? Shravanam, okay, yes. So, I was hoping that this is very obvious. It's the Sadhana Bhakti. Sadhana Bhakti. Sadhana Bhakti is what is the most important for us right now. Sadhana Bhakti. We don't talk about bhava and prema and things like that. We talk about sadhana. Why? Because as these words indicate, continuous, again and again, gradually, over and over. If we don't do our sadhana continuously, if we don't chant the Hare Krishna and read Srila Prabhupada's books again and again, then we won't advance. We won't be able to, continue our progress in our devotional life. It's that simple. So sadhana is something which exists in this existence, in this material world, on every level. Even karmis do sadhana, and jnanis do sadhana, and yogis do sadhana, but let's just simplify it. So if we consider us and the people who are not engaged in active devotional service, they do sadhana as well, actively. So what is sadhana for them? Example would be they wake up in the morning, they read the news, I don't know what they do, they drink coffee, they eat cereal. That's a sadhana. Without that, they cannot exist. They can't operate. It's a routine which they build into their everyday life. It's just a very crude example, and then we can go through the entire day, but you understand. This is every Friday is a pizza day at home. Every first Monday of the month we go to the movies. That's a sadhana. It's a routine. It's a religiously repeated, pattern which they stick to, and that's what they do. But in our life, it's very straightforward what sadhana is, and it's defined by the Vastutraya. Who knows what is Vastutraya? You probably heard it in a more common explanation, Sambandha, Abhideya, and Prayojana. Who heard about that? So these are called Vastutraya, and they really are represented in this first verse. Where is it? Here we go. So, if one does not understand in the beginning, but continues to hear again and again, so this first sentence, understand, that's sambandha, that's a relationship we need to understand. And then hear again and again, it's which part of the Vastutraya can that be? Abhideya, exactly. That is our practice. What do we do to understand? We hear again and again. And then there is one here at the, which is Prayojana, will bring love for Krishna. That's Prayojana. So if we perform our sadhana correctly, we will establish our sambandha, which will then result in us developing love for Krishna. Again, everyone is advised to continue to hear, to continue. Again, we are in Abhideya, hear again, over again, in order to greatly benefit Prayojana. You see how this is all hidden in, well, it's not really hidden. It's not there. It is in the, it's nicely explained in the, or it pops out in this verse. Sambandha, the loving affairs between Krishna and the gopis and other associates of Vrindavan. That's not Sambandha. There is, well, it could be, yeah, it could be relations. But also we have to understand who we are in this relationship. So Dasha Mula Tattva by Bhaktivinoda Thakur explains that out of 10, Dasha, 10, out of 10 points, the first 8 are all about Sambandha. That's how big of an emphasis is on the practice. And that's why I started this Sadhana Bhakti, because that is basically how to establish our relationship with Krishna. So Dashamula Tattva explains the first element is called Amnaya, which literally just establishes where do we get this knowledge, because knowledge can arrive from various sources, and it says it's pramana, and it comes from the words of the Guru and the Shastra. So whatever after this we will work from comes from the Guru and the Shastra. Simple as that. It's not coming from speculation, it's not coming from non-Shastric literature, non-Vedic literature. It comes from the Guru and the Shastra. And all our subsequent points will be proven by this Amnaya, which is the Pramana. And the Prameya, the truth, okay, so the second is called Paramatattva, which establishes the position of the Absolute Truth, Krishna, who is Krishna. Third, Sarva Shaktiman. It establishes that Krishna, after we understand he is the Supreme, how he operates. He operates through his Shaktis, his energies. He is the controller of all the energies, all potencies. So it's not just enough understanding that there is God, because that's what many religions stop at. God is, the creator, he is the, supreme. But how that creator and supreme operates, how he manifests his potencies, how he makes this creation work, that's not explained in these religions. When I was young, I was fortunate enough to be brought up in a religious environment. My mother was religious. For a Karmi would be said very religious, but from our point of view, not very. But nevertheless, she taught us to go to the church and pray to God, and God is everywhere, he sees everything, be good, these usual Abrahamic points. And then she said, we never leave the knife on the table upright, because God can cut his leg on it. So we need to always put the knife like laying down. And I was like thinking, how does that work? This God has okay, I understand this is here and this is here, but there is nothing here. So God must be here in this, filling up this empty space like a foam. And if there is a knife like this foam will cut on it or something. I couldn't understand, How does God cut his leg on the knife? Of course, the principle wasn't that. The principle was to educate the child, not to, be careless. But nevertheless, this is how I was brought up. And then I went to these Sunday services. I was always like a ministrás. Altar boy. And one day I asked the priest, okay, this is house of God. He says, yes, this is house of God. I said, okay, we respect God and we take our hats off. Yes, we do that. Okay, but where is he? Where is that person we so, devotedly respect? We come into his house. Where is he? oh, he's the Almighty, he's the love in your heart. And I was saying, okay, but still, I don't see that person. You're just talking about principles. So I wasn't pleased with that. So that's why Sarva Shaktiman is very important, because it brings closer the understanding of that personality. There is a CEO, like a head of a company, and there are various levels of structure, hierarchy. And let's say a person in the office knows that he needs to do his job well, because if not, he will be punished. He has no connection with the CEO. He only has connection with the power of that CEO, with the instruction, with the influence, the sphere of influence. If I make a mistake, I will be, fired, or I will be chastised. So I don't want that. So he has a connection, not with person, but with the energy of the person. Does this make sense? So this is why this is established at the very beginning. This is actually understanding the principle of Paramatma. The first is Param Tattva, is the principle of Brahman, that God is everywhere. And then how he represents himself everywhere, that's Paramatma. Akila Rasamrita Sindhu is the fourth one. He is the ocean of all divine mellows, rasa. So now we are stepping over this theoretical, and we are starting to, gain some more insight of this personality, of this supreme personality. For instance, there is this CEO, the head of the company, and we are at the bottom of the ladder, and we interact with him through his energies. But at home, that CEO interacts on a different level with his family members, his son, his wife. They don't think him as a CEO, they think him as a loving father, a loving husband, or a bloody husband, or whatever, however it works out. But it's there is rasa. Rasa appears in this relationship. And it might be that there is rasa between the owner of the company and other employees. There is a possibility of that. But in terms of our analogy, this is how it works. We need to understand that God is a person, and there can be a relationship with him. And all the rasas, all the mellows are in him or coming from him. The fifth one of the Dashamula Tattva is Vibhinam Satattva. That is actually understanding our own position in relation to God. So the first three, second, third, and fourth, established Krishna, Bhagavan, Paramatma, Brahman, Paramatma, Bhagavan, and now who we are in relationship to that. This is a very big one, and it is actually divided furthermore. There is a sixth one, is called Bhada Jiva, which means some souls are conditioned into this material world, and what does it mean, and how are they conditioned. So it's a whole, knowledge base, a whole book, many books about that. And the seventh is called the Mukta Jiva. Mukta is certain souls are liberated or eternally free from Maya. And the eighth point of the Dashamula Tattva, and all these consist of Sambandha, is called the Achintya Bheda Bheda. So we need to understand that at the very beginning. How is the simultaneous, simultaneous oneness and difference? How does that work? It actually explains a lot. It's very difficult to accept, but it's very easy to understand. it's very difficult to accept is because we are conditioned, baddha, but it's very easy to understand because it's a very simple process. The ice is at the same time water and solid. Very simple. But if we are contaminated, if we are conditioned, if we have some attachment to a different concept, then we will fight it. We will know ice is only solid, blah, 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 this and that, it changed its chemical structure, and you can argue, you know what I mean. The 9th of the Dashamula Tattva, 9th point is Abhideya, and the 10th point is Prayojana. In this regards, Abhideya is Bhakti, the devotional service, and Prayojana is Prema, pure love of God. So this is the Dashamula Tattva. This makes sense? And this was explained in the first verse, or actually we extracted this through the first verse, based on the principle of Sadhana Bhakti. So why is it important to practice, to read, to chant, to associate, to go out on Harinam, to do book distribution, to go into the pujari, to do the Tulsi Puja, to clean the temple, to repeat again and again, so that we understand our relationship. That's why it's important. Without this, there is no other means to understand. There is no material means to understand our relationship with God. Even if they say, oh, I saw God, I'm with God, God talks to me, God this and God that, we will immediately be able to discern that this is either superficial or not full, not complete. In this verse, Abhideya is represented with the to hear again and again. That's our practice. Hearing, for instance, as you said earlier. You said that, right? And the Prayojana is represented in the great benefit, or bring love to Krishna, for Krishna. That's the result. So if we just carry on doing what? Hearing, we will then receive love for Krishna. So if you study Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita or any other scripture, or you just read a book, you will have to approach it through this Vastutraya aspect, because this is how the acharyas are explaining. Bhagavad Gita is divided in 3 parts. Karma, Bhakti, Jnana. So immediately we can see that there is Sambandha, Abhideya, and Prayojana. I'll leave it to you to work it out how it is explained. Bhagavatam as well. In those 10 topics, you will see how they are represented. It's not always black and white. And when you read a verse, if you start looking for these, okay, what is Sambandha, what is Abhideya, what is Prayojana? Clearly not every verse, but philosophical verses, they will start opening, you will start seeing them. And this way, you can establish your understanding more reliably. And that's our time. Is it now? Oh my God, I still have 2 points. Yeah, this is too big, so I won't do the last one. But quickly, just how do we perform our Sadhana Bhakti is explained in the subsequent verses, the mood of pure devotee. In the verse 89, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami says, if I remain longer and am fortunate enough to receive the mercy of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So if I'm fortunate enough, verse 90 says, still I write, and this is a great wonder. So despite all his disabilities, he is continuing his devotional service, and this is a great wonder. It's not because I made an effort. This is a great wonder. How is it possible? I don't know. Verse 92, If by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mercy I live for so many days, again, by the mercy of someone, not by my own endeavor, by mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And then eventually, like the cherry on the top of the cream on top of the chocolate layer on top of the cake is I worship here with the lotus feet of all kinds of devotees. And this is very important. We don't distinguish between various levels of devotees. I did a little explanation of all these three types of devotees, but due to lack of our time, I won't go through that. I encourage you to do your own research on it. It's very revealing, because sometimes we hear this Kanishta, Madhyama, Uttama, this qualification of devotees, but this is a different one, and it's by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. So I was very curious, and it brought out very interesting insights. Krishna Name Dikshita is a person who has been initiated by a guru and is following his vows. So it's considered like a surface, on the surface involvement. There is no much depth to it. I got the initiation, I have to do this. I have to chant 16 rounds, I have to follow the 4 regs, I have to clean the temple. So it's all on the surface, external. Then Bhajana Shila. Shila is very interesting. It says, Shila indicates the nature of a person or the character of something. So Bhajana Shila is during this Krishna Name Dikshita, due course of time, our character is developed and it becomes, we are now reaching more depths of our personality. So it's a transformation of a character. So it's an intermediate devotee. And Bhajana Vigya is an advanced, realized devotee. It means here in the verse, in the purport, Srila Prabhupada said expert, because he has deep realization about his position, the position of Krishna, and the devotional service. So he's the most advanced one who knows, Vigya. So he knows he can't be dissuaded. He cannot be distracted. He's convinced. These are the Uttama Adhikaris. But a humble devotee always prays for the mercy from everyone. So this is the message for us for today. If you aim to get love of God, you have to get the mercy of every devotee. Not just the advanced devotee, not just the advanced devotee without parentheses. And so from everyone, even from, you would consider him not that advanced, why would I? And there is a science how we approach it. And this is a very touching section of the Chaitanya Charitamrita, because Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami reveals his inner mood. It's a very unique, very rare moment to gain an insight to a pure devotee's meditation. Okay, this is what I wanted to say. I don't think there is time for questions, because I don't like, you're going to text me, Vaiṣṇava is taking too long. Shall I tell him to stop? Microphone?
Thank you very much for a lecture. It's probably one of the best lectures of Chaitanya Charitamrita so far, this temple for me.
In this year?
In 2025 and 2026. But I just, one word for me, like, I heard that sadhana means that which has some goal. So we divide the sadhana bhakti, which goal is prema, but you describe this like people wake up, drink coffee, go to job. It's like a sadhana, but it's like, for me, sounded like a kriya or samsara, which has no goal. They just live like rats running the cycle. Can you make it clear on this word sadhana? Because it's...
I was just emphasizing the aspect which was or which is relevant to our today's class, which is the repetitiveness, and simple as that. Sadhana is something which brings about the goal of our engagement, as you said, which is love of God. And clearly karmis don't drink coffee to love God. But in terms of today's context, it's repetitive. And then you will, if you haven't already experienced this, that doing, for us, our life is super simple. We really have only few things to do. But we do them on and on and on and on again and again and again and again. From a karmi point of view, this is stupid, this is ridiculous, you know. There is no variety. So we woke up, we come down here, we jump and sing, then we sit down, you know, then we again stand up and jump and sing, then we sit again, then we eat, and then we, you know, so it's always the same. So the emphasis of this whole section here is in what mood we do it. And the mood I explained at the end of the class. Does this make sense? So clearly these topics are infinite, and they can be approached from infinite, you know, angles. And it depends on who gives the class and how he wants to give the class. It can be explained this way or the other way. Yeah, coffee doesn't give you Krishna prema. Not even if you drink it every day. Yeah, that's their sadhana. They think it brings something, you know. Not just coffee, but for instance, every birthday celebrated this way. Every Christmas every New Year's Eve, there must be fireworks. So it's like a repetitive process. We do it again and again in the hope of enjoyment, you know. We want to do it. I know if I do it, I didn't do it right this time, so I'll do it right this time. So maybe if I put little cream in the coffee, and then you do it for a few months or whatever, and no, it's not bringing me that pleasure anymore. So I'll do a Colombian coffee instead, you know. So it's always, that's called mental speculation, actually. And it's pursued in the hope of happiness. Okay? Thank you very much. Thanks for your attention. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Shri Chaitanya Charitamrita ki jai, Jai Nitai Gop Premanande. Akkor 9-kor kell bocsánat. Reggel, okay.